Hi, my name is Dan Jurgen. Thanks for joining me today. I am a wealth advisor here at Fidato Wealth, and the purpose of this video is to give you an overview of your Fidato client portal. So to start, I'm going to share my screen, and what we're looking at right now is exactly what you will see when you log into your Fidato client portal. On the far left, there'll be three icons that we'll review each individually during our video today. This second column is a list of all of the accounts that we either manage directly through Charles Schwab, our custodian, or indirectly through a third-party link, whether that be a 401k or a 403b. Then in center stage here, you'll see all of the managed accounts and the details and activity related to the accounts that we're selecting. Now, by default, the managed account row is going to be selected. So in this case, for John and Jane Doe, we're seeing the entire $3.5 million, as well as all of the numbers associated with all of the accounts. However, we can look at all of these same exact numbers with the exception of just one account individually. So now we're looking at just John's IRA or just John's Roth IRA. And that's done by just selecting one of these individual accounts on the left. And again, if we wanted to get back to the accounts in total, which would be all four of them, go ahead and select this Manage button, and that'll bring us right back to the entire $3.5 million number. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to focus on just one account individually. So I'm going to select John's IRA. So the balance is approximately 2.2 million, and it's always going to show you the value as of yesterday's market close. So today's November 18th, so it's going to show you the value as of November 17th. Underneath, you'll see an activity summary, which gives you the contributions that have come into this account, the distributions that have gone out of this account, as well as the market value change, which is the performance, positive or negative, over a certain time period. And you can see on the top right of the screen that there is a time period that we've selected. It's always going to default when you log in to end as of yesterday's market close. And the beginning is always going to be the day that investments first came over. So for this asset in particular, investments first came over December 19th, 2022. So over this time horizon, that's reflective of these four numbers right here, leading us to an ending market value of 2.261 million, which is, again, in bold in large numbers at the very top of the screen as well. Now, if we wanted to translate this market value change based off of these contributions and distributions over this time horizon, that's exactly what this since inception return is, which is just over 10%. However, as you get more and more time under your belt with Fidato inside of this client portal, this drop down, which defaults to since inception, will start to give you additional options to select. So you can see that more than 1 year has passed since 2022. So we can now look at just a 1 year return, which looks back from November 18th of last year to November 17th of this year, so that we can see those same exact numbers, the beginning market value, the distributions, obviously custom tailored towards this exact time horizon that we've selected. Now, eventually, there will be a 10-year, a 15-year, a 20-year drop down as well, once that much time has elapsed for this particular account. In addition to selecting these individual drop downs that are available, you can also go inside of this chart individually, and you can cherry pick any beginning date and ending date that you would like. So if you're interested in just your performance from, let's just say, May 1st, 2025, through the end of May, we could type in through May 30th, 2025, simply press enter, and it will give you those two custom dates as well. Now, this chart that we're looking at on the right-hand side is extremely useful. I'm going to go back to since inception, and I'll note two items. The first one is the dark blue line. That's the net invested amount. So this blue line does go up every time money comes into the account. So you can see that really there was two primary contributions when this account was initially funded, which was in the beginning of 2023. Now, there were some minor contributions that have happened since then, and there's been some pretty substantial distributions that came out in 2024. And then ever since 2025, the account has just kind of steadily received minor contributions. Now, in comparison, we can take a look at the shaded blue area. That would be the portfolio value. So regardless of what's coming in or going out of the accounts, you can see that the shaded blue area constantly goes up and down daily based off of the performance of the market. You can see here in particular, this is April of 2025 when the market dropped pretty drastically. And then since April all the way up until October, the market has risen pretty substantially. So the nice thing about this chart is that it gives you both your contributions less your distributions, which is what we call your net amount invested, on top of your portfolio value so that you can see the divergence over time. And the difference between the top of the shaded blue area and where this blue line ends is exactly this difference right here, which is just about $574,000. All of what we just took a look at is on the summary tab. And again, this is only for one account. If we wanted to take a look at the entire 3.5 million, we can click on the managed accounts. And it's going to give us the same exact information, but for all 3.5 million. The charts are identical with the difference of just simply the numbers changing. So I'm going to go back into John's IRA. And instead of the summary, I'm going to go into the allocation tab. So this is going to give you the 14 different asset classes that Fidato invests in with the addition of cash as well. So obviously they all add up to 100% because we are accounting for the entire account in this allocation tab. You can sort the allocation by smallest to largest or largest to smallest to see how much we're allocated towards large companies, whether value or growth, which would be a blend. Foreign companies that are particularly large, mid companies, small companies. All the way at the bottom, we always have a small amount of cash in all of the accounts for trading purposes and for fees, as well as things like short-term bonds. So you can see that we are heavily invested inside of equities and international compared to bonds because of the risk profile that we've selected for this account. Now, conversely, we would still have these same 14 funds and same 14 asset classes, no, regardless of if you are a Model 1 portfolio or a Model 5 portfolio. The only difference would be the allocation that we are being exposed to inside of all 14 different asset classes. This same exact 14 asset classes can be found under the performance, except the performance isn't going to show you the extent that you're exposed to the asset class. The performance is going to show you exactly how it sounds, the return or the yield over a given period. And so this period and these returns that we're looking at are always going to be based off of what this time horizon is right here, which defaults to since inception. So if we wanted to look at just year to date from January 1st up until November of 17th for 2025, how have these 14 asset classes performed? You can see up at the top, we have foreign large blend. So international has done very well this year. And down at the bottom, we have cash, real estate, even small companies that have performed very little for 2025. You're also going to see the title of the account somewhere in the middle, which is going to show you the blended return across all 14 asset classes. And this 10.10% that we're looking at should match identically to the summary over the same exact time horizon, which is being shown on the front page of 10.10%. Now there is another tab. We're going to review it briefly. This is the activity, again, over a different time horizon. And it's going to show you the beginning market value, the distributions, and the market value change, which we also saw on the summary tab. However, it's going to show you the individual activity with the option to drop down under distributions. So you'll see that in January of this year, we had a distribution which was 23,000 plus 5,300 plus about 1,200. Now, the reason that there's three of them is because in all likelihood, all three of these went out at the same time. This was the actual amount that hit your bank account. This was the federal tax withholding, and this is the state with tax withholding. Now, of course, if we didn't have any tax withholdings, we would just see the 23,000. And when we do have tax withholdings, we break all of them down individually so that we can get a nice total aggregate of 75,000 that came out of the account in total for the year. Combined with the market value change, brought our approximately 2.1 million to 2.26 million. I'm going to jump back to the summary tab, and I'm going to jump back to the managed account tab. I'm going to flip to since inception because this is going to be the default when you do log in. And of course, if you go through that same exercise under this account, you can now see the allocation for the entire approximately 3.5 million, not just any individual account. So that's an overview of the personal finances tab. Now, the next tab that we'll take a look at is these three triangles. It's the financial planning tab. If you select it, you're going to be able to see a summary of your financial plan. Now, to start, it's going to give you the probability of success of the current scenario and the recommended scenario. And it's going to show you the assumptions driving the current scenario and the recommended scenario. So you can't actually go in and change any of these assumptions. Of course, anytime that we would get together, we would make assumptions and determine those changes that we would need to make in your financial plan and make those changes during the meeting. And those changes will then be reflected inside of this tab of your Fidato client portal. But just because you can view this information doesn't necessarily mean that you can go ahead and make edits, especially without having a conversation first with Fidato. Whenever there is a change based off of the current and recommended scenario, it is going to show you what the difference is in this column on the far right. So you can see that we are spending $72,000 in the current scenario. We're actually recommending an increased base spending of $84,000, which is all in all a 12% increase of their current spending. And that's the reason that we're driving the 97% down to a 95%. If at any point in time we do make changes, and this is not updating automatically, there is a refresh button on the top right of this page. You can also view plan assumptions for insurance, particular goals, as well as net worth here as well. Now, the last tab that we're going to take a look at is the Document Vault tab. This is probably one of the best features that's available inside of this client portal. Previously, especially during the initial process of our meetings with you, you were using a program called ShareFile to send us information back and forth. Now that you have a Fidato client portal, this is going to replace ShareFile, and any documents, especially those that are sensitive in nature, that needs to be shared back and forth between us can now be done inside of this document vault. So by default, there's going to be a couple of folders that automatically generate, and additional folders will also begin to populate over time as needed. I'll start at the top. You'll see a client uploads folder. So if you select this folder, it will give you the option to either drag and drop files from your computer, or you can open up your file explorer and select files that you'd like to upload. This is awesome for sending Fidato sensitive information that we're requesting from you that we don't feel comfortable sending over email. Anytime that you do upload files to this document vault, Fidato will get notified. Your advisors will get notified. John and Jane just submitted a document titled XYZ to their client portal. We would then take a look at it. And in reality, we would already have anticipated that you were about to upload that document. And of course, if you upload a document out of the blue, we will likely reach out to you if we have questions on why you uploaded it, or vice versa. We will occasionally upload documents to your vault that we would like to share with you. And we will never do that without informing you. Where we will upload documents primarily is going to be on this very bottom folder called Wealth Planning. And to give you an example of a document that we would upload a PDF version of your financial plan that we would review with you. So when we have our annual progress meeting, we will review all of the assumptions in your plan, we'll make any changes, finalize the financial plan for the year that we're meeting, and then save it as a PDF, upload it to your wealth planning folder in your Fidato client portal, and then you would receive an email stating that here's confirmation. We've uploaded a copy of your financial plan to your portal if you would like to review it. Again, this is saved as a PDF, or as this second financial planning icon right here is more of a live version of your financial plan and the assumptions that we're using. Additional examples of documents that will eventually get posted in the wealth planning folder would be things like your wealth management action plan, which outlines goals over the next 12 months until our next annual progress meeting. Also, your advanced planning mind map, which has a tree that branches out across the 4 different domains that we're planning for you, including wealth enhancement, charitable giving, wealth protection, and wealth transfer. One of the Key differences between Orion and Charles Schwab is that Charles Schwab is not required to provide you with performance reporting on your accounts. However, a lot of clients still like to log into their Schwab accounts to download their monthly statements as they become available. So I say that to say you can get 99% of what you're looking for from Charles Schwab on Orion. So the Orion portal will by and large give you anything that you're looking for, which includes things like custodial statements. So if you are looking to download your Charles Schwab statements, you don't need to log into your Schwab Alliance portal. You can simply log into your Fidato client portal, navigate to Document Vault, select custodial statements, and on an automatic basis, at the end of every month, your custodial statements from Schwab will automatically be posted here. It typically takes a couple of weeks for them to post at the end of every month. So for the month ending October 31st, I would say give it the second or third week of November, and then we'll see our October statements posted inside of this custodial statements folder. This isn't something that Fidato does manually. This is simply a nice feature that Orion supports through integrating directly with Charles Schwab. There's also a folder titled Quarterly Portfolio Reports. Now, these reports are also generated automatically and post at the end of every quarter. So there will automatically be folders to categorize different years. So I'll go into 2025, and you'll see that automatically 2025 Q1, Q2, and Q3 has been posted. Obviously, Q4 2025 will end December 31st. So likely sometime around the second or third week of January, we'll see the 2025 Q4 portfolio overview generated and made available inside of here. To give you an example of what these look like, I will open the Q3 2025 reports. Any item that you click automatically downloads. I'm in Chrome right now, so I'm just going to open up my downloads in Chrome, and we can see what this report looks like. This is a nice cover page that shows you who the report has been prepared for, and then some information about Fidato. If you jump to the second page, you'll see a lot of information that we've already reviewed inside of Orion, such as what time horizon that we're looking at, what the net investment is, which is contributions less distributions, what the ending market value is. Obviously, the difference between the two is the total gain after management fees. And if you annualize this gain over this time horizon, it comes out to just under 10%. Now, the reason that this is important is because Fidato deducts our fees on a quarterly basis. And we never want to show you your investment performance before taking our fees. So at the end of every quarter, we bill our fees, then we generate this portfolio report. That way, the numbers that you're looking at are always after Fidato's management fees. One of the other reasons that we generate this report is because we want to be able to timestamp these metrics every quarter. So technically, we could get this same exact information if we went to the dashboard and set this ending date to 9/30/2025, which is the same time horizon that this report was ran. And while we could do that to get the same exact numbers, the benefit of running it inside of this quarterly portfolio report is just to timestamp every single quarter that has elapsed since initially becoming a client of Fidato. So it's a nice way to have a paper trail of performance, despite the fact that we could get all the information that we're looking for live inside of this summary. Lastly, any particular information that we send back and forth with one another specifically related to a planning topic, such as estate planning, insurance planning, or tax planning, would get posted in those folders as well. And again, anytime that we do post something to one of these folders, particularly if action does need to be made, we would follow up with an email that we just uploaded a document to your document vault. Please download it and begin taking these next steps. I'm going to jump back to the dashboard, which is the page that you see as soon as you log in. And I want to show you access on Fidato's homepage. So if you go to fidatowealth.com, you'll see our nice homepage here. And at the top right, there's a client login button. If you select that and scroll down just a bit, you'll see a hyperlink which takes you to the login screen to get into your Fidato client portal, as well as a login screen that takes you to your Charles Schwab accounts. Again, 99% of the time, if you're looking for information, it can be found inside of your client portal with Fidato, but we still do require all clients have a Charles Schwab login as well for things like DocuSign and other compliance reasons. So we've been viewing the desktop version of the Fidato client portal. There is also an app available on the Google Play Store and iOS Store if you're interested in downloading the Fidato app as well. I trust this was a very informative video for you and helpful. A lot of the portal is self-explanatory, but hopefully this gave you some additional insight into some of the features that are made available to you with your Fidato client portal. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks.